Hey everybody, this is TJR. Today is July 5th, 2019 as I record this, and earlier in the week, Gibson Guitars released a statement, a kind of response, so to speak, to the reaction to the Play Authentic video and to all the internet reaction to the lawsuit against Dean Guitars. Sorry for not getting back to everybody on this sooner. A lot of stuff going on this week, didn't have time to sit down and record a video. Also, I wanted to take some time to really just think things through and decide what I wanted to say. And also, 4th of July holiday stuff just getting in the way. So I thought I would start by reading the statement and then kind of commenting in between paragraphs. There's a lot of warm and fuzzy in the wording of this statement. And there is a lot of deliberate vagueness so that when people read into it, they can kind of project their own intentions into what they can project what they feel is the intent of the letter. Since emerging from bankruptcy less than a year ago, Gibson has made significant progress in the key areas that matter most to guitarists around the world. They don't say what those key areas are, but I would presume that means quality instruments. With a clear focus on quality, a new collection of original and modern guitars, and a more confident dealer and artist base, the new team at Gibson have proven they can listen to the market and create new solutions, but there's still more work to be done, and the new team at Gibson remain on a mission. Now, they mention a more confident dealer and artist base, but what they don't mention is a more confident consumer base. Now, when I hear the word artist base, I figure they must mean artists who are endorsed by Gibson is what I'm assuming, legacy artists, major artists, that sort of thing. And that's good. It's good to have that particular base, but there's more of a guitar buying public outside of big name recording artists or even mid-level name recording artists. And I think a confident dealer base will come when you have a confident consumer base, because there's tons of guitarists out there some of who are hobbyists and just enjoy playing, which is nothing wrong with that. It's great. And there's tons of them who are just working guitarists, from people who play part-time in a cover band to musicians who play full-time in cover bands, tribute bands, their own original projects that they have to support with a day job. There is a huge consumer base out there. So yeah, I think it's interesting that the consumer confidence is left out of that paragraph there. Maybe that's what they mean by artist base, but I don't think so. So let me just continue reading here. While new management is building on the legacy, quality, and craftsmanship that guitarists have come to love and expect from Gibson, they will also continue to manage and attempt to resolve the conflicts of the past. Apart from inheriting an iconic brand, the team have also inherited a host of challenges that they realized would take time to achieve proper resolution. A clear challenge has been in the area of brand protection, where a legacy of legal issues exists with both legitimate companies in the industry infringing on iconic trademarks and with illegitimate entities attempting to counterfeit, knock off, and pretend to be Gibson in the market. So they bring up legitimate manufacturers, implying that they're confusing the marketplace, and I'll talk about that in a moment here. But then they really start talking about the knockoffs, the counterfeiters, and let me read that part here now for you. Over the past 8 months, the team have successfully dealt with over 4,500 counterfeit and knockoff guitars coming from overseas that were clearly designed to confuse the consumer into thinking they were buying a real Gibson. Since November 2018, there have been dozens of counterfeit website takedowns, also designed to confuse the guitarists into thinking they were entering a legitimate official website. On a weekly basis, Gibson receives multiple queries and concerns from guitarists misled into purchasing what they thought was a genuine Gibson that turned out to be counterfeit. Unfortunately, this is a very real dynamic that brands like Gibson and other iconic brands need to deal with on a regular basis. The main area of brand protection on these types of issues is with trademark ownership, understanding, and assertion. Hence, our recent attempts to communicate our position, which was predominantly focused on these rogue overseas players in the market. If left unchecked, these situations can lead to continued consumer confusion and can ultimately affect the integrity of the entire industry. Okay, so like I said in my first reaction video, nobody blames Gibson or holds it against Gibson for going after counterfeiters. If you produce a cheap version of the Les Paul or the SG and you put a fake Gibson logo on it and try to make it look like it's Gibson, or even if you don't put the actual word Gibson, maybe it says Gibson or something like that, but it's the exact same lettering style and it's, placed exactly in the same way, then yes, you're trying to confuse the marketplace. You're trying to create counterfeits and knockoffs. Nobody blames Gibson for this. But if I purchase a guitar from a legitimate Japanese manufacturer, and they're basically replicating the Les Paul, and they have a logo that has their name, whatever it is, the lettering, the font looks nothing like the Gibson logo in any way, shape, or form. It's clearly not a Gibson. And the only reason I'm buying it is because I can't afford a real Gibson. So I'm buying a cheap knockoff. And I can't in any way realistically expect that cheap knockoff for $200 or $300 is going to have even close the quality of what the name brand should have. And this holds true if I buy a replica of a Stratocaster guitar. Once again, if the headstock and the logo are completely different, there's no way I'm confusing this. And I'm only buying it because I just want to buy a cheap alternative. If I buy a real Fender Stratocaster or a real Gibson Les Paul, it's because I want that iconic brand name, and I know I'm going to pay more to get it. Customers are fine with doing this so long as they know that the company will stand behind that brand name and give them a quality, top-notch pro instrument. This is why people are willing to pay more for the Mercedes or the Lexus brand name versus Hyundai. So I'm going to continue here with the statement. Recently, there has been a wide spectrum of both support and criticism with the approach that has been taken by Gibson in the market regarding brand protection. While there are clear lessons to be learned around tone and legal explanations, the past few weeks have provided a real-time opportunity for Gibson to start making the pivot from less legal leverage to more industry collaboration with appropriate levels of awareness. Well, as far as I can tell, it's been mostly criticism as far as suing Dean Guitars. Nobody is confusing Dean Guitars with Gibson Guitars. Now, this statement about less legal leverage and more industry collaboration, everybody's going to read into that differently. Now, someone like me who tends to be more positive thinking and tries to be positive thinking and who tends to be agreeable, I tend to interpret that as meaning less, hey, your guitar looks too much like our guitar, stop or we're going to sue you, to more of a, hey, we originated this design and you are replicating it very closely. Now, can we come to some sort of an arrangement, something that we find mutually agreeable for both of us? That may be the case, but then again, that may not be the case. Wording like this is, to me, designed to kind of let you read what you believe the intent is. With regards to other guitar brands and companies in the marketplace, Gibson has filed specific lawsuits over the past several years with the intention of protecting its original trademark rights and to avoid consumer confusion in the market. All of the recent attention on the few lawsuits in process stem from several years of legal action initiated well before the new leadership arrived in November 2018, with specific regards to the inherited and ongoing legal dynamic with Dean Guitars. The new Gibson team have made several attempts to communicate with them directly to avoid a prolonged legal battle. Gibson has genuine intentions of constructive resolutions that could be beneficial to both sides. So they're saying, hey, these lawsuits were initiated before the new team. Don't blame the new team. Now, I know there might be some of you saying, well, then can't the new team just simply end the lawsuit, put an end to it, stop it? I'm no legal expert. I'm no lawyer. Every time I talk about copyright lawsuits regarding different songs, invariably someone comments and says, it sounds like someone's just looking to make a fast, easy buck. Well, once again, while I'm no legal expert, I do know that lawsuits are not fast, they're not easy, and they're not cheap. So for that reason, I don't know how easy it is to stop a lawsuit once you've started. It may very well be that once you've started a lawsuit, whether the new team wants it or not, they have to see it through. So I want to give Gibson every benefit of the doubt that I can. And if you're more of a legal expert, please enlighten the rest of us on this because I would really like to know more about that. So getting back to the statement here, this recent situation has led the team to reevaluate their approach going forward with the intention of finding more constructive solutions to managing brand protection in the industry. Over the past few weeks, Gibson has made significant progress in reducing counterfeit attacks. Once again, Gibson, nobody has a problem with that. And they have entered into creative collaboration agreements with key boutique guitar makers and other related industry parties, a clear indication of their intentions going forward. I'd like to know a little bit more about what they mean in regards to agreements with key boutique guitar makers. When you buy a boutique guitar, you're paying a premium to somebody who is pretty much making that guitar by hand versus the guitar being made by robots, which is what all the major manufacturers do, and nothing wrong with that. I love the Taylor guitar brand. They make excellent guitars. I've toured their factory. They have robots handling certain aspects of the production that makes making the guitar much more efficient, but then they also have human beings handling other aspects of the production of the guitar. Once again, there's nothing wrong with this. But a boutique guitar is not confusing the marketplace. People are paying a different price for a specific level of craftsmanship that's being put into an instrument. And, Gibson, companies like Gibson and Fender can certainly do this too. And I'm guessing that maybe Fender does with their custom shop models. But once again, I don't think going after boutique makers is really the answer. The real answer, of course, is to increase consumer confidence. You would start doing that by making sure that your quality actually exceeds the price point. Even if it means a little bit of a loss in profit, you do this anyways to attract buyers and to get the word of mouth around and to increase consumer confidence. Once that confidence has been increased, then you take that price point to now meet the quality. And then you can then increase it a little bit as time goes on as well. The statement ends with an actual quotation from CEO Mark Curley. I am proud of the progress we have made with our attention to quality, with the launch of the new collections, and with our renewed engagement to our Gibson authorized dealer base. At the same time, we acknowledge that there are still legacy challenges to solve going forward, especially around brand protection and market solutions, says James C. Curley, the new president and CEO of Gibson. It is time to make the modern day shift from confrontation towards collaboration. While still protecting our brands, we are committed to making this happen starting now. So this sounds like Mark Curley is saying, moving forward, we will shift away from lawsuits and try to come to agreements that both parties are happy with. Now, at the same time as this particular statement comes the news that the EU court has dismissed Gibson's trademark appeal over the Flying V design. Basically, they said while that design was innovative back in the 1950s, too much time has passed. Basically, they're saying, you're 50 years too late. And this to me is very similar to the copyright lawsuit regarding the song Boogie Chillin' by John Lee Hooker. When most of us hear this particular guitar riff, everybody from my generation relates it to LaGrange by ZZ Top. And by the way, I didn't even play that riff the way Billy Gibbons plays it in LaGrange. But this riff has been used in countless songs. It originated with John Lee Hooker's Boogie Chillin', and it was also used by Slim Harpo in Shake Your Hips. And there was a failed lawsuit by the copyright holder of Boogie Chillin', which resulted in the court ruling that the rhythm was now in the public domain. That particular rhythmic style, that particular chord progression was in the public domain because too many people had already used it in other songs and continue to use it to this day. Now, true American law might differ from EU law. Once again, I'm no expert, but if this decision from the EU courts is any indication, it does not bode well. Gibson guitars, nobody blames you for going after the counterfeiters. Go after them. You should go after them. But as far as stopping legitimate companies who produce guitars that look similar to the Les Paul or the Fender Stratocaster, as long as the headstocks are completely different, as long as the logo is completely different, consumers are not confused by this. Guitarists are not confused by this. If a guitarist wants a Fender, a real Fender Strat, or a real Gibson Les Paul, they're going to buy the real thing. And the only reason they buy some cheap knockoff from overseas is because they can't afford it anyways. And as far as the customers who can't afford the real Fender Strat or the real Gibson Les Paul, well, that's why Fender has the Squire line, and that's why Gibson, that's why you have the Epiphone line. You just have to make your guitars more attractive because you've already got the iconic brand. That's the one thing that those other companies don't have. They don't have the iconic brand. And for this same reason, you don't have to go after the boutique dealers. It's just not necessary. And all you're doing is spreading ill will. And it just appears like it's too late anyways for these lawsuits. So let it go. So I want to just end the video now with answering just a few of the comments that I received on the last video. This first one is from Stuart Miller. He writes, having watched the original video, I got the impression that Mike Agnesi was being held at gunpoint to make that video. For his reputation's sake, I hope that turns out to be true. And Stuart, you weren't the only one who brought this up. A lot of people talked about saying that they have known Mike Agnesi and that he's a good guy and all this stuff. And I hope he is a good guy. He sure didn't come off that way in the video, but I hope he is. And who knows? Maybe he was forced to do this by his superiors. Maybe he wasn't. I don't know. Who knows? But I thought I should mention this comment and thank everybody who talked about this. And thank everybody who tried to share their perspective on Mike Agnesi. This next comment is by Pascal Cardinal, who writes, don't forget about all the Epiphone Strat replicas out there as well. And he leaves a link. And I went to the link, and here's a picture of one of those. And I do actually vaguely remember these, but I'd kind of forgotten about them, that Epiphone did these Strat replicas. I mean, look at that. Once again, Gibson, you've done the same thing that you're accusing other guitar manufacturers of doing. And look at that headstock. That reminds me of the Kramer headstock even. Still, it says Epiphone quite clearly, so I know what it is. Finally, I have a comment here from the Staccanova. Hopefully I've said that right. The Gibson Hendrix Strat was never officially released. Some of the test ones made it out, and some were sent to artists. They are extremely rare. They had enough sense to not take it to the market, though. My question is, did you know that it never went to market and are intentionally being misleading? Well, certainly not. I would never try to intentionally mislead anybody. My understanding was that this guitar was released, but that Gibson pulled it very quickly upon its release because the response to it was so tremendously negative. That was my understanding of the events. If anybody would like to help clarify out there, please do so. So anyways, those are my thoughts on this whole reply thing. I feel that it's been worded extremely vaguely and carefully, although there might be some very positive things out of it. But at any rate, though, once again, I just think the lawsuits are just tremendously unnecessary at this point, and it's too late also. Share with me your thoughts and opinions, everybody. As always, if you like what I'm doing, be sure to click like, click subscribe, click the bell notification, or ring the bell as they're saying now, so you can know when I release new videos. If you'd like to make that extra step of support, and I hope you will, please become a patron supporter. Go to my Patreon page. I've been telling everybody, you know, just donate the cost of a cup of coffee a month. If enough of you out there did that, there's so many people subscribed to this channel. If enough of you did this, it would make such a huge difference, and it would free up so much of my time to be able to work on more videos and more of the type of in-depth videos that people want to see me do. But mostly, I just want to thank you all so much for watching and for being there. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.